Alright, we are on the play, selecting us 3 lands, couple cantrips, some interaction. That looks pretty good. I'd keep that in the dark. We'll probably start off with a steam vent off of the wooded foothills so that we minimize the amount of fetching we'll need to do immediately after casting the serum visions. That steam vent. I don't actually know which one I clicked. I don't really care. There are 2. I just want one of them. Don't think we need to worry about holding up the Tarfire. Second Tarfire could be good. First Stubborn Denial is at least somewhat attractive. I think I'll just put both on top because we do have Thought Scour and Misty. Oh no, we want both to be on top, and then we want Denial first because it's more likely that I want that. We have Thought Scour and the Misty Rainforest that can get rid of the Tarfire if we're playing against a non-creature deck, which it looks like we are. That screams Ad Nauseam is pretty much the only deck that runs the temples, at least in a very large quantity, so I do want to Thought Scour us. Life total is not going to be very relevant, so I kind of want to grab a breeding pool. I don't think we need double red. I'd rather have the double green. We could always top deck a Traverse the Ulvenwald. So if we fetch 3 cards, get a breeding pool, scour with the steam vents, our other option is to hold stuff up and spell snare. They're likely to play a not Chalice, 2 mana. It's a Sunburst Mana Rock. We'll probably see it. I don't think it's worth holding up Snare when we can get our clock down a turn earlier. So we're gonna get the breeding pool, like I said. Thought Scour us, not our graveyard. Clicking that wouldn't help. It also means we have Stubborn Denial Ferocious for turn 3, which is when they'll likely be playing Phyrexian Unlife, although they can always Simian Spirit Guide one out. What do we want in the bin? Probably the sorcery, maybe the fetches. We have 8 more fetches, not a lot more sorceries. So let's do that. Go to them. We have nothing to do at this point, so I guess we may as well use that stop. Gemstone Mine makes Ad Nauseam more likely. Pentad Prism, that's the one. That's the card I was thinking of snaring. I think we're better off... Oh, wow. Double Denial is really good. Denial, Denial, Snare. Tarfire, Denial, Denial. Seriously, that's fantastic. I'm hoping we can unleash a few of these spells this turn on their end step so that I can slam a Mandrills next turn. It'd be nice. There's the Phyrexian Unlife. We're going to Denial, and I think we want a Tarfire here. They're not using the Pentad Prism because they really want that to be ramp for their combo turn. So let's counter that. 2 cards in the bin. We might not be able to slam a Mandrills. Let's Tarfire them. Doesn't actually take a turn off the clock, but it's not doing anything. And if we have a land, which we did hit, we can play Hoots while holding up Denial or Snare. We don't really need to play around any cryptic commands, so the sequencing isn't super relevant. Although I guess if you want to display perfect form, you would cast after attacking. We are looking to Denial a Phyrexian Unlife. Would I Spell Snare a second Pentad Prism? I might. I would certainly consider it. I kind of want to draw a Bolt effect because that makes them dead. I like when the opponent's dead. Not the actual player, because that's extremely mean and just awful, but I like when the planeswalker that player represents goes to 0 or less life. Not when they have a Phyrexian Unlife in play, though, because then I have to infect, and that's annoying. I don't like when our opponent gains 10 plus life, especially when the card that gains them 10 or more life is part of their combo. It's a pretty awesome deck when you think about it. Our opponent's sleight of hands is sleights with hands. I think that would be the best way to explain the action of casting sleight of hand, besides just saying cast sleight of hand, but that's lame. We don't want to do that. I don't want to counter it because our opponent has plenty of cards in hand, so it's entirely possible they sleight, we denial the sleight, and then they slam it on life. And then it takes us another 3 or 4 turns to kill them. We attack them, they go down to 2, we attack them, now we can start doing infect, we attack them, they're at 8 infect, we attack them, they die. So it changes a 2-turn clock to a 4-turn clock if they resolve an unlife. That's really bad. So let's let the sleight resolve. They find a card, play a land tapped. They don't get to scry off of it because it's just a fast land. And if we have the lightning bolt, they could just die. They also could Angel's Grace. You can't counter Angel's Grace because it has split second. Super unfortunate, but yeah. We basically can't go all in at any point against Ad Naus. Unless, of course, you have nothing better to do, and you don't want to bluff, or you can't bluff. Here's the aforementioned unlife. Gemstone Cavern gets used. Pentad Prism, 1 counter off. We're gonna do it. You cannot pay 1. That is not on the menu. They scoop. Guess they didn't have anything good after that unlife. Maybe they had a hand of Ad Nauseams and no enablers or mana ramp. I don't know. That was pretty good. Let's look at what we will sideboard. We just saw that half of their win con is an enchantment. Destructive Revelry seems very good. Dismember is going to come out immediately, as will Vapor Snag. The only creature in their deck, I believe, is Laboratory Maniac. They might run something else as an extra win con. I think I've heard of that, but I don't know what it is, and we're going to want a few bolts anyway, so who really cares? Depending on what we bring in, Disrupting Shoal is going to be bad. Don't want these. Don't want the other Dismember. Blood Moon is a pretty good card against them, although I might not want 3. Let's put it over here. Ancient Grudge. They do run a number of artifacts, notably Pentad Prism, and you can also use Ancient Grudge to force the issue on Lotus Bloom? I think it's Lotus Bloom. 0 mana artifact. It's suspend for 0. 3 turns later it comes off and it's basically a Black Lotus. I think it's basically a Black Lotus once it hits the battlefield. Gives you 3 mana of any one color. Engineered Explosives is more artifact hate in the vein of Revelry and Grudge, but I don't think it's as good. It's also double the mana, at least. Mountain could be good. If I decide on the Blood Moon plan, I might go with Mountain over Breeding Pool. Huntmaster's probably just too slow. Against a combo deck, when you run counterspells, I don't hate Surgical Extraction. I don't think I want the Mountain unless we bring out the Breeding Pool. I'm going to want to cut at least 2 Lightning Bolts, probably a 3rd. Curiosity seems good. Simic Charm is more bounce. I don't think you need the Hexproof mode at any time against this deck. So I actually think I'd rather have Bolt than Simic Charm, because Simic Charm is just going to be Reach. And if I want Reach, I'd probably rather have a Lightning Bolt because it's half the mana. 3rd Blood Moon versus, say, Disrupting Shoal. Let's do a Shoal check. We kept all of our 2 CMCs, which is good. They don't run many 1 CMCs, and there actually aren't a lot of 1 CMCs that we can counter. We can counter cantrips. You can't counter Angel's Grace, as I mentioned earlier, so we're basically hoping Shoal gets to the point where it's a cancel. So is that better than Blood Moon? Probably not. Or actually, probably yes, given that we already have 2. They have a lot of ways to fix mana outside of Blood Moon. Blood Moon's mostly here to turn off Boseiju. I think that's fine, and I think the Breeding Pool is also at least okay. This hand is really good for casting Blood Moons, so we're going to keep it. Turn 1, Serum Visions. Turn 2, Mana Leak. Turn 3, hopefully we draw Blood Moon in time. The opponent mulligans. We're on the draw. They kept in Scryed 1. Let's go to our turn. It's a temple. That's why we like to play Blood Moon. Besides Boseiju, which makes their win cons uncounterable, the Temple Scry is a when it enters ability, which means if it enters as a mountain, that ability does not exist. So temples played post Blood Moon, they don't scry. They do enter the battlefield tapped, because that's an as it enters ability, so that occurs regardlessly. That basically occurs as the action takes place. It's not a mountain until it actually hits the battlefield. So it enters tapped, they lose the scry, and they're just going to tap for red. So it's a pretty good deal for us. We have a Mandrills in hand. I think we want to shock. Our life total is not relevant. We're going to let our opponent do whatever it is they do. If it's an unlife, I'm going to want to counter it. If it's not an unlife, I might not, and then we can Scour Bolt, which is why I went for Stomping Ground instead of Mana Leak. Them playing Pentad Prism on turn 3 makes me want to Mana Leak their Pentad Prism. We can still Scour into Mandrills, which is fine. That basically means they're probably not hitting their land drops, which we saw with them not playing a land there. Let's Scour us. It looks like we won't be able to Scour and hold up Mana Leak this turn, but hopefully next turn we'll have some stuff to do. We're going to get rid of this entire bin. I maybe should have took out Traverses from the deck, maybe even a Snapcaster Mage. That's something we'll take a look at if we go to the sideboard again. We can shoal for 1, we can shoal for 2, we can bolt their face. These are all things that I like in Magic. That's why I play Tempo. Second Pentad Prism makes me really want to shoal. I imagine they went with black on that. We're gonna shoal. We're gonna pay the alt. That card, this card, its CMC is 2. That's actually fantastic. If we can keep our opponent off of mana ramp, they're going to have a very hard time assembling their combo. Because you have to add Naus, that is 5 mana, I believe, and then you have to Lightning Storm. Let's play this. We're probably going to want to fetch it before we Thought Scour. Let's see what we can draw. I'm going to grab a basic island here. It's not super likely we need red, and having perfect Blood Moon mana isn't something I hate. There's a Traverse, 3 card types in the bin, so we're not going to do that. We'll just hold up the Revelry and hit for 4. If we get the Revelry off in a timely manner, we're going to have a 3-turn clock, because they will take 2. I'm actually hoping this is a Phyrexian Unlife, but if it's a Pentad Prism and they miss their land drop, I'll be just about as happy. Maybe happier, because then they miss a land drop. We're doing a very good job of keeping our opponent off of their mana, which I think is a very viable strategy against this sort of deck. If you take out the enablers, you don't have to worry about the payoff. That is dangerous and exciting. Spoils of the Vault, let's see what they name, let's see what they reveal, and how much damage they take. I think it's actually life loss, not damage. Looks like they named a land. Yes, they did. So let's actually see it. They named Seachrome Coast, and then they revealed these. Cool. Our opponent's at 6. If they play an artifact or enchantment that we can deal with, okay, here's an Echoing Truth to try to slow us down. Very good idea on our opponent's part. Now we're going to have to delve. That's a Tarfire, so we can Tarfire them, knock them down to 4. I almost want to just Traverse for a Snapcaster Mage, Snap Bolt, but that seems kind of bad. We can Tarfire, Traverse, play a Delver. I think we're better off just playing the Mandrills and giving up on our dream of killing them right now. The question is, how much do I want to enable this Traverse? We already have Tarfire, so not a lot. I think I just want to tap 2. We'll hold up, say, Mana Leak. Well, we'll bluff Mana Leak, and we actually intend to Tarfire them. That's bad in the graveyard. That's bad. Let's get rid of that. Probably don't have to worry about Goyf. We have land, instant. I kind of like having the Bolt in the graveyard in case they can somehow deal with Hoots, and then we find a Snapcaster Mage. So that's why I went with that over Goyf, which makes Traverse slightly better. Like I said, against combo decks, if you can deal with the enablers, you don't have to worry about the payoff, so it's usually a very good line to take. Surgical is very exciting. What's in their graveyard? Pentad, Prism, Spoil the Vault, Echoing Truth. That's lame. Nothing we really want to hit with it. We're just going to bash them for 4. If they tap out, we're going to Tarfire and hope they don't have Angel's Grace, which means we might actually want to do it now or on the upkeep so that they can't draw an Angel's Grace. Of course, that forces them to waste an Angel's Grace because they won't have the mana to add Naws, so let's go for it right now. Do they have it? Angel's Grace in hand, they do. They go to 1. We can't interact with much, but we can Surgical Angel's Grace. I don't think that's what we want to do here. We're going to end step. We are still bluffing counters, which is good. Unfortunately, we can't Revelry, but that's unlikely to matter before we untap. Spoils of the Vault. I don't think they can actually do anything. Remove all of their cards. You lose 1 life for each of the removed cards. Oh, it's Angel's Grace. They're Angel's Gracing. They are going to go negative. So they need a Phyrexian Unlife and what did they even name? If they pass the turn, they just die. What did they name? I want to find out. This is exciting. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Spoils of the Vault, Lion's Eye Diamond. That's only in Legacy. So they just drew their whole deck and basically scooped. That was a very cool way to go out, so kudos to you, Dingle Boss. That's how you dismantle Ad Nauseam. Of course, we didn't exactly draw poorly that game. So, like every other game of Magic, it's not 100% skill, 0% luck. There's always a mixture, but that's usually how you should play the matchup if you hope to win. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I hope that you enjoy all the other videos too. And if you enjoy Rug Delver, check them out. Check out the MTG Salvation thread. Content's good, so get yourself some content.